want you to know that having to prepare for this was damn frustrating. Mere words just could not do justice to Robert Wernsman. And words are my business, they're my stock and trade. And yet, they're pale shadows compared to that rumbling, roaring avalanche that was Robert Wernsman. So I think I'd prepared about 6 little stories and vignettes about Robert. I think I'll share 3 of them with you. If you want to hear the others, you'll have to buy me a drink. So my office is right next to Robert's, and whenever I get bored, I go bother him, which is quite a lot. So one time I went in there, and he was sitting behind his desk, and he had a huge stack of papers that he was grading. And I looked at him and I said, "Robert, I just don't know how you do it." Of course, it was the hardest thing that journalism professors do, the thing we dislike the most, the thing we will do anything to keep from doing, which is grading students' writing. Just think about it. You're a journalism professor, you've got to grade for grammar, spelling, and punctuation, but that just gets you to first base. Then you've got to grade on the writing. Is it clear? Is it concise? Does it do what it's supposed to do? But is it also expressive and descriptive? Right? Is it a good lead? Does everything follow logically and thematically from the lead? And then you've got a grade for reporting. Did you talk to everybody you were supposed to? Did you ask the right questions? Did you get the right information? Right? Is it in context? Okay, this is very difficult. But Robert knew exactly what I was talking about. And he looked at me and he said, in that inimitable and unforgettable voice, "Pete." And I knew that I was about to hear a lesson. Even if I didn't want to, this was going to be a lesson. He said, "Pete, this is the most important thing that we do. This is where the real teaching and learning happen." And then he looked back down and started grading again and said, "Close the door on your way out." Which means, stop bothering me and don't bother me again. So I go back to my office, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about, Wernsman and what he'd said, and I'm thinking about all the thousands and thousands and thousands of papers he had graded. And he had given his full measure of devotion to each one of them. And I'm telling you, if genius is what Thomas Edison said it was, 90% perspiration, Robert Wernsman was a genius at grading. You can talk about his classroom style, and it was wonderful. You can talk about his integrity, and yes, but what really, really impressed me was he was a grinder. He could do it. I had to chain myself to my desk with a bottle of tequila before I can grade students' papers, and he could churn it out. And it kind of reminded me of what golfers talk about. They got an expression about their, golfing. You drive for show and you putt for dough. And in our profession, you lecture for show, but you grade for dough. And I was sitting there just thinking that, and through the wall, I could hear him gloating in his lair, and I didn't know whether it was about, thinking about that he knew I was cogitating about what he had said, or whether he was grading a student's paper, or whether he was thinking about a grain of salt. And now this is the first and only PowerPoint I have ever done in my life. Okay, it's not working. Okay, look, PowerPoints are soporific. Soporific, tending to induce sleep and stupor. Okay, I clicked. Okay, so about 8 years ago, Robert sent me an email, and the subject title said grain assault. And I kind of secretly, silently mouthed the words to WTF. And opened it up, and he had been grading, of course, and he'd come across a sentence that a student had written. And this was the sentence. And so thus began Robert and I's every time we came across one of these, we'd send each other an email, and the title would be Grain Assault. And we always talked about maybe we'd write a book someday about this. And so I had Miss McBee kind of prepare this as a book. And so I've got about a baker's dozen I want to show you. After we'd been doing this for a while, we started making comments about it, And so we've got our comments on the right-hand side of the page. He's RW and I'm PB, so just follow here. I think she was trying to say she's lactose intolerant. I guess I'll flip when everybody stops laughing. She meant rapport, right? R-A-P-P-O-R-T. Okay, this is a good one. I'll give you some time to read it. Everybody finished? Say, okay, mine, Nolan, Ryan, get it? This is a great one. Yeah, Robert didn't even respond to that. He was off to another one. Everybody got that one? Okay, this was one of his last ones. He'd already retired, and there'd been a story about him, retiring. And so he got this from an alumnus. This is, I think this is the last one. I believe that's the last one. Okay. One more story. In an advanced reporting class about 3 years ago, we were talking about some question of journalistic ethics, and one of the students, Betsy Epler, piped up about, well, what would Wernsman say? And I think I had some smart-ass remark about, well, we didn't have that kind of time to talk about what Wernsman would say. But she ignored me and just started out, you know, and what would Wernsman say? And then it kind of morphed into this praise of Wernsman and how great a teacher he was, the greatest teacher, and how a wonderful teacher, the most wonderful teacher, and how what a great man of honor and integrity, the best one she'd ever met in her life, and on and on and on. You know, here's one of my all-time favorite students, one of my all-time best students, in the middle of my class, had erupted into this impromptu encomium, a litany of praise, about another professor. And finally, she had exhausted all her superlatives, and she came to the end, and right out of the very, you know, her heart and soul and her being, she said, "I love Wernsman." And normally I would have some kind of sarcastic response or, you know, rude gesture, gag, like that, you know. But all I could do was look right at her and say, "So do I. So do we all."
Thank you, Pete. Thank you, everyone. We now have some open mic time now for anyone who'd like to come share some thoughts about Professor Wernsman.
My name's Aaron Wernsman, and I am Robert's son. And first of all, most importantly, I want to say thank you to everybody for being here. Thank you for you that set this up. Thank you to everybody for their kind words about my dad. I knew him a little bit longer than some of you guys. You know, he was a very, very good journalist and newspaperman who turned into a great instructor. But you guys should all know that he was a fantastic dad. He really was. All the same qualities that made him fun and at times difficult made him a really, really good father. Even better than that was he was a much better grandfather. He's a great granddad to my kids and to Mary Jane's kids and their kids. I just wanted to say that from a family of teachers, and Dad used to brag about how many teachers were in his family. I don't know if he ever told any of you that. My wife's a teacher. Both of my little sisters teach. I don't teach for a living, but I do teach at my job. And you take a certain amount of pride in your students over time. They become children in a way. And anybody who is a teacher and a parent knows what I mean by that. You folks in this room were my dad's family. And that is a big deal to us. Because as a teacher, and a teacher as good as he was, your family becomes huge, and it rolls out. You'll teach your kids things that my dad taught you. I promise you will. They get pretty annoyed with me at the fire station when I correct their grammar and their spelling, but they just have to put up with it, because that's who I am and who I'll always be. So thank you very much to his Texas Tech family. You guys mean the world to us, and he was very, very proud of all of you. Thank you.
I came to Texas Tech University in the fall of 1995 as an undergraduate major in both English and theater arts. I didn't have a lot of experience in theater, but I knew it was something I wanted to pursue. The day of my very first theater audition, I was petrified, kind of like right now. I saw the 100 plus other students there to audition, and I doubted everything about myself and my decision to study theater. The audition process is an overwhelming one, especially those that are set up in cattle call style, where everyone's rounded up in this big room together, and then you're taken out in small groups of 10 to move to another room. The progression is that you move from the large room to the small green room, and then to the silent hallway before you finally take the stage for your audition. The green room is the last opportunity to stretch, to warm up, to run away crying, to pee. Every step of the audition process at Texas Tech had a graduate student worker to ensure that the progression was smooth and efficient. But the green room guy was a special position. The green room guy had to be informative, to let those auditioning know what to expect when their turn finally came. The green room guy had to be calm, to keep the high anxiety in the room from going through the roof. The green room guy had to be firm, to keep the noise level to a minimum for those waiting in the hallway for the final step of their audition. And I didn't realize it until later, but it also helps that the green room guy has a witty sense of humor, a comforting, if not a bit mischievous smile, and the most perfectly articulated words of encouragement. I wasn't cast in a play that semester, but I was eventually. And every semester of auditions, despite the angry butterflies in my stomach, I always looked forward to those 15 to 20 stressful, anxiety-filled minutes in the green room with Robert Wernsman, the green room guy. When I auditioned as a graduate student many years later, I couldn't put my finger on why everything felt so different. It could have been the years that had passed or my change in student status, but I'm pretty sure it was that the green room guy wasn't Robert. He didn't even come close, and the whole thing just felt a little off. Robert Wernsman leaves a legacy at Texas Tech University and in the College of Media and Communications. But he also touched the lives of so many students and faculty and staff in the Department of Theater and Dance. When I began working for the theater program many years ago, I was often asked for interviews by his newswriting students. And I made it my mission to conclude every one of those interviews by making sure that those students knew that in addition to everything they thought they knew about their professor, that Mr. Wernsman was also a gifted theater artist. On January 21st, Robert sent me an email of his appreciation for the good fortune that he had had in life, and that he felt that he was a lucky, lucky man. And I'm so glad that a person as special as Robert, always the green room guy, received countless blessings in his life. But I know that we truly are the lucky, lucky people who had the blessing of knowing him.
I'm not up here to pay homage to Robert Wernsman. I'm up here to pay homage to Robert and Mary Jane Wernsman. Mary Jane and Robert got married in August 1997, which was about 4 months after Catherine and I got married. We got married in May 1997. And we've had these parallels in our life since that year. I can say that there's also some strange sort of similarities and inversions in our two marriages. A few years ago, when Strengths Quest was the big thing around here, we'd take Strengths Quest tests, and you might not know this, but the top strength of Robert Wernsman was win others over, right? I don't know if he could sell igloos to Eskimos or whatever, but he certainly could sell journalism and grammar and punctuation to undergraduates, and that's a harder sell, I think. But Mary Jane and I, one others over is not our top strengths. In fact, we compared we have basically the same hierarchy of strengths and weaknesses, Mary Jane and I do. And so we're more concerned about introspection and things like that. I also think about, and by the way, Catherine's strength is organization. And if anybody has seen my office, that was not necessarily one of my fine moments and talents. But when I think of Robert and Mary Jane, I think of the Jack Sprat poem. You know, Jack Sprat could eat no fat, and his wife could eat no lean. And with Robert and Mary Jane, it was Robert Wernsman could read no fiction, and his wife could whatever the obverse of that is. So, Mary Jane, I want you to know that you and Robert have had a profound impact on our lives, and we love Robert and we love you, and we hope that we'll continue to be good friends, talk Game of Thrones, and that sort of thing. Thank you.
And now Dr. Todd Chambers will close the evening.
Thanks. Mary Jane, I share what Dr. Reeves just shared, that I think about Robert, but I also think about Mary Jane. For me, it's a 2 for 2, and because when I came back to Texas Tech in 1999, that's all I knew, and so thank you. And I was sitting there, and I did my undergrad degree here, and many of you may not know that I was a journalism major. Of course, I think when I came here, I was a PR major, and then I switched to advertising, then I was telecom, and then I ended up in journalism. And I had the privilege of having a couple of people that I think Robert Wernsman's name, from all I have seen, from everybody I've ever talked to, it's like Dean Perlmutter opened with. When you talk to alumni, they talk about Robert Wernsman, especially those that have just graduated, or for sure since I've been here. In the 20 years that he taught here, I can guarantee you they all talk about Robert Wernsman. But the name Harmon Morgan, and many of us have heard Harmon Morgan's name and used. He's very influential, but he was tough. You hear the name Bob Rooker, and for me, that guy terrified me. And I had to drop his class the first time I took it, and I signed up for it again. But I was glad I had him. And I have no doubt that Robert Wernsman is going to be in that hall. Morgan, Rooker, Wernsman, and many, many others. But Robert definitely influenced a lot of people. When we talk to potential faculty members and when we share with them about what Texas Tech is about, we always like to share, and I always like to share for sure, that we're about teaching, research, and service. And teaching and research go hand in hand. And I think it would be a shame not to mention that Robert was a recognized award-winning teacher. In 2012, he won one of the highest. He won a President's Excellence in Teaching Award in 2012. And that's a credit to who he was as a teacher. And we are very thankful that Robert blessed us here for 20 years in the College of Media and Communication. And like Dean Perlmutter said, there are thousands of students that have been influenced. We in our school song, we talk about strive for honor. We see those words quite a bit. I want to challenge each and every one of us as you leave here tonight to think about how you can be like Robert and strive to be an influencer. Because I think that's what he is. And I definitely want to thank him for influencing me to want to be a better teacher, because he definitely was an excellent teacher. Tonight, as we close, I want to thank Robert's family, Mary Jane, and we've got Aaron here, and we've got Mary Jane's one of her kids here, and we want to thank y'all. And Mary Jane, thank you very much for your service here as well. Tonight, Catherine McBee and our team and the dean we've got a sign-up sheet, and for anybody who would like, we are going to mail you a photograph of Robert Wernsman. And what we've got here is we've got a nice sign-up sheet that if you would like to have one of these memorial photos sent to you, we'd be more than happy to send that. All we need, though, is your information, your name, your email, and your mailing address. So we'll have this available. We definitely have plenty of snacks. I checked earlier. We've got cookies and lemonade and water. And it's so amazing. And as we close, I was just thinking of how many people I see in here. I see Janet Wright, and I see others, but I see a lot of former students. And again, I think that's a testament to who Robert Wernsman was. We thank you for being here tonight. We thank you for sharing in this. And I hope you paid attention to the agenda. It was an edit mark out of memorial, but it's a celebration of Robert Wernsman. But thank you all for being here. And on behalf of the College of Media and Communication, we're so thankful to have had Robert Wernsman with us, and we thank you for being here tonight. Thank you.